The more superstitious a person is, the more he is celebrating Kantara. If I could overlook and ignore the impact Kantara is having on the masses, I would have surely appreciated it, because purely as a piece of art, it is quite appreciable. India is witnessing what you can call as English educated superstition that's happening since last 10-20 years now, because the political ideology says culture is everything and superstition is a part of our ancient culture, and that's why Kantara is great. It is helping us regain our confidence. Now we can declare to the world that we are superstitious and this is our culture. That's their argument, and that's where I have a huge problem with Kantara. It is basically going to strengthen the dogmas and the voices of those who believe in all kinds of primitive superstitions. I'm requesting you to please question what you are thinking, what you are doing, the direction you are taking. I wish we were not living in a society where I had no option but to strongly criticize what is otherwise quite a good piece of art.
Acharya Ji, there is a question from the online participants. Recently, a movie was released by the name Kantara the Legend, and that movie is receiving a lot of great reviews when it comes to its technical prowess. So people are appreciating the cinematography, the story, and a lot of things. I too watched the movie, and I somehow agree with them on most cases. The cinematography is good. They've made a nice movie in the kind of budget they had. But at the same time, I wanted to ask a question on the impact of that movie on the society as a whole, because that movie is also carrying a message. Such a movie, which is technically very good, is it really going to help the society when it comes to the psyche of the man? Or there can be some repercussions which I am not seeing as of now?
So obviously I have seen the movie. Any movie of any worth I usually don't miss. The impact that the movie is going to have on the society is quite dangerous, very dangerous. Partially because of the carelessness of the makers, and partially because of the kind of people we are. Potentially the movie could have been seen as communicating the message of the strife between Prakriti and man's greed. The character there, I do not remember the name, who is the one who is trying to occupy the land of the villagers? He's just called by the name Sahib. So this character represents the capitalist mind, the greedy mind, who just wants to consume the forest. So potentially the message could have been a healthy one, a great one. But practically, as the movie has finally turned up, the message is entirely different. Most of the attention that the movie has garnered is due to the last 10-15 minutes, the climactic scene. And it is basically going to strengthen the dogmas and the voices of those who believe in all kinds of primitive superstitions. The same story could have been a great commentary on the common kind of rationality and how the usual rationality is nothing but an expression of greed. That's what the movie could potentially have been. Instead, the movie has become some kind of torchbearer of superstition, starting with the initial scenes where the dancer says that the one who has come to take back the donated land would meet justice on the stairs of the court. And then we are shown that fellow dying on the court steps, bleeding through his mouth. And that's a very gross scene. That is exactly the kind of primitive superstition that India has taken centuries to come a little distance from. And it is again being recycled and reserved to us. And then the scene in which the dancer runs away and goes to the jungle and makes a few quick circles and disappears, and all that you are left with is a circle of fire. That is the stuff of the folklore that has damaged India no end in the past. What's worse is that all these things have not been shown as symbolic. They have been portrayed as factual. Had they been shown as mere symbols, then I would have had no objection. But they are not shown to be symbolic. They are shown as if a person has actually physically disappeared. As if the spirit within the body has become disembodied. And that is the reason why those who talk so much of disembodied beings are particularly gloating over the success of this movie. The more superstitious a person is, the more he is celebrating Kantara. I'm sure this was not the intention of the filmmaker. I greatly appreciated Charlie 777. We talked over it, and we in fact published a video on the same on our channel. So I'm sure the filmmaker was not intending Kantara to become cannon fodder for the superstition lobby. But that's what it has become. And the filmmaker should have foreseen that. This country has been in a vice-like grip of all kinds of nonsense since very, very long. And that is the reason why even in the Constitution, as part of both the directive principles of state policy and the fundamental duties, it had to be said that it is very important to cultivate scientific temperament in the population. Very important, because that's what this country has been lacking and has paid a tremendous price for being superstitious. And we are not learning from history. We are saying that Kantara is a celebration of our culture. What do you mean by that? Is it a thing to be proud of if your culture involves a lot of mindlessness and superstition? Please. How is it a thing to be proud of? It is not, you see, coincidental that this spirit business, this this thing regarding ghosts, spirits, disembodied beings has returned to gain so much of circulation these days. You have bhoot pret professionals on social media these days who, with all impunity and audacity, display how they are dealing with spirits, and they are gaining traction. Kantara belongs to that same kind of trend. Ghosts and spirits are trending. They are in fashion. So if you talk superstitious nonsense these days, you are doing what the trend is. It's just that it used to be on the periphery. All these things have existed in India, have been in culture, but they have been at the periphery. They used to be a part of the remote culture. These things used to be practiced in the interiors. What is very alarming and threatening rather is that these things are now being mainstreamed. From interiors and uneducated areas, these things are now being beamed into the bigger cities, into the metros, into the otherwise educated homes. And people are gladly falling prey to all this. India is witnessing what you can call as English educated superstition that's happening since last 10-20 years now. Mostly in the last 8-10 years, because the political conditions have become very conducive for superstition to prosper. How? Because the political ideology says culture is everything, and superstition is a part of our ancient culture, so superstition is great. The political ideology is not talking really of spirituality, it is talking only of culture. And says our culture is great, and since superstition has been a part of our great culture, therefore superstition is also great. Hence you have rise of godmen over the last 10 years who specialize in superstition. Half their talks and discourses are about the other world. What happens in death, after death, how many kinds of disembodied beings are there, how to talk to them, how to tame them. And all this is gaining both traction and market. People are buying this stuff, especially when it is coming well packaged in English, in an aesthetically pleasing way. Buy it. Now you see, it is not a stuff of the uneducated. It is coming from the highest places, and that too in English. So it can be bought, and it is being bought even in very educated stations like Bangalore, for example. Bangalore has become a hotbed of superstition. This is a very, very tragic development. What's more movies of this nature are now bound to come, given that this one has obtained commercial success. Don't you see already? You have a slew of movies on all these topics. This one has come, Ram Setu. Though I suppose it has already flopped or what? Yet to be released or already flopped? Already flopped. So there are spirits and they can possess you. Was this not always being believed in the hills, in the Adivasi areas, in all these places? Somehow literacy levels rose and education enabled us to go beyond this nonsense. And such a shame that by using the gifts of technology, the same nonsense is being pushed back in our lives. The most modern technology is being used to create the most primitive kind of movies. And when I say this, I concede that in an awakened society, the same movie could have been interpreted differently. In fact, when I watched the movie, I was rather pleased. To me, the movie was not really about superstition. The movie was about the strife between jungle and greed. That was how I looked at the movie, and I was rather pleased. So my contention with Kantara is not really in the theme, it is in the effect. The same theme could have had a beneficial effect in another society. But in this society and in these times, you are being careless and irresponsible as a scriptwriter, as a producer, director and actor. If you come up with such a thing without thinking of the effects that your production will have on the masses. So from my initial approval of the movie, and I very readily gave my approval to the movie, I had to come around to admitting that the effect of the movie on the society is rather deleterious. When I see the kind of people, you want to know how good a thing is or how good a person is. I'll give you a talisman. Just look at the quality of the people who are with it and opposing it. If you want to know how good I am, you just look at the quality of the people who oppose me, and you will realize. If you want to know how good Kantara is, just look at the quality of people who have come out in its support, and look at what they are saying in its defense and support and approval. And you will realize. It's an orgy of chest thumping. And they are saying, see, we always knew that these things are great. But we were shown down and ashamed. Now we have come out loudly and unabashedly. They are saying Kantara is an unapologetic movie. Unapologetic? In what sense? Because we were made to apologize for our superstitions earlier. Now we are loudly declaring our superstitions. And that's why Kantara is great. It is helping us regain our confidence. Now we can declare to the world that we are superstitious. And this is our culture. Now that's their argument. And that's where I have a huge problem with Kantara. Otherwise, purely in terms of aesthetics, etc., you know very well that I like the movie. But the kind of use the movie has been put to is very, very dangerous. That which should have been symbolic has been taken as factual. People are already saying that there factually exists, and spirit, and that spirit is the Daiv. And the spirit roams about and enters people's bodies, and that too only on specific days, for specific purposes. This is very, very dangerous kind of mindlessness. Plus, this is anti-spiritual. I do not know what it has to do with culture, but it surely is very, very antithetical to spirituality, particularly Vedant. And all the things that mark the cultural right have been glorified in the movie. For example, an apathy towards nature. So who are the heroes who kill animals? Did you watch the movie? The forest officer is trying to prevent them from hunting, and they are the ones who go about killing animals. They cut trees. In fact, one of the huge trees that they cut actually falls on the forest officer's vehicle. So destruction of flora and fauna, killing trees, killing animals, all that is okay with the right, the cultural right. And that's the right-wing ideology, right? Nature is there for my consumption. And the police officer has been shown as a fool when he says that when you are bursting crackers, the animals are being disturbed. He has been shown a fool when he says that. And they are big-time meat eaters, all the heroes there. All the heroes there are constantly pig and fish and all kinds of animals they are killing and eating, and all that is being glorified. It's our culture. Our culture. Very, very saddening development. What's more, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Now you will have an entire series of movies on such topics. And this population of ours, which is already steeped in mindlessness, will become even more mindless, and very confidently and unapologetically so. There are news reports. There are people are going to watch Kantara, and they, in the middle of the movie, they start emitting the same kinds of sounds. One woman had to be carried away. She was all the time, she watched the movie and she felt as if the spirit has possessed her as well. And she started saying, woo, woo. And she had to be physically taken away. All that is there in the papers. Read. That's the effect that this movie is having on the masses. Now this bhoot pret business is going to reach every household. And you'll have professionals specializing in this business. Jhad phook visheshagya. And they'll carry out their business professionally like an MBA in English. They'll have proper websites. They'll be enrolled as companies. They'll pay GST. They'll call themselves consultants, spirit consultants, specializing in, even disembodied beings will have several departments. There is a bhoot, there is the pret, there is a chudail, there is a dayan, there is jinn. So they'll have entire hospitals of specific kinds, and you can go there and take appointments. So you can go to the jinn department. And this thing is going mainstream, for sure. Very, very educated people are going to fall for it. Why? Because we are not educated in life. We are not educated in the self. We do not have spiritual education. And the only antidote to superstition is spirituality. Science cannot defeat spirituality. Science cannot defeat superstition. Science just cannot defeat superstition. Rather, superstition will co-opt science, particularly technology. The only thing that can defeat superstition is spirituality. And we have no spiritual education, therefore, the forces of superstition will be all over us. We thought that just having scientific education is enough. It will help us move away from superstition. Not true. I'm venturing to prophesize. All the superstitions that you thought dead and gone are going to return. You'll see all of that. All those things that your grandmothers used to practice will soon return, and in new and modern English names. The old primitive superstition is going to return packaged as something modern and English. Primitive and local, stuff that used to be practiced in backward local areas, that's now going to become mainstreamed. Not that Kantara alone would do that. That's the project a lot of cultural nationalists have been on, and that's what some of the biggest gurus have been trying to do. They have been trying to make local superstition national. Even international. Just turn local superstition into something that looks modern and market it to the entire country. Let it be accepted in every home. I repeat, as a piece of art, I still approve of the movie. But as someone who is bothered about the society, I'm quite worried. The way this movie will be taken, is being taken, And the trend that the movie is going to set, very dangerous. You know, you always have had horror flicks, bhoot bhootni types. The only thing is that you always knew it was fiction. The special thing with Kantara is it shows that thing as factual. It is brilliantly made, no? Actually. Well done, Rishabh Shetty. You are led into believing that all this really exists and happens. I've had one particular lady. So, sir, this was like 6 months back when for 2 months, like I was possessed, and this spirit, it was really so mean. It used to attack me, only when I was trying to be happy. Like, wait, what happened? I was possessed. What exactly is that? No, there are these spirits now. What? There are these spirits, they don't remain visible, but they sometimes take shape, and then they disappear, and they enter your body and they capture your mind. Educated one. That's why talking like this. Well educated in a Delhi college. And pretty comfortable and unapologetic in asserting that she was possessed for 2 months. But sir, there are so many proofs. You look at YouTube, there are so many videos showing how people are possessed. Game over. Finished. It's trending. Can't stop the wave now.
But sir, exactly what is it that is within us that wants to believe into such stories? Because ultimately, what I have seen is that people start thinking that, maybe there are some dimensions to living that I don't know of, but they do exist. So if I am not aware of them, why should I, make a statement that they do not exist?
The one thing that the ego is deeply afraid of is responsibility. Another name for that responsibility is truth. I do not want to take charge of my life. So I would rather console myself by believing that there are hidden masters in charge, that there are invisible forces that are controlling me, affecting me, even possessing me. I don't want to take responsibility because that is, as they say, tough shit. So I would rather say, no, I flunked the exam because I was possessed. What was the name of the central character? Shiva. Could Shiva have defeated Sahib on his own? No. Because as normal human beings, we are so little and so helpless and powerless. As little beings, we can do nothing. So what should we do? We should pray to the Daiv so that the spirit comes and helps us. And then we can do something. You understand the absence of responsibility in all this? I'm little, I can't do much. The great forces are all outside of me. And that absolves me of all responsibility. The great forces are all out there. What can I do? In fact, because the greatness, the power is all outside of me, so I get the license to be irresponsible like Shiva. All the day, entire day, I can loaf around, I do nothing, I don't work, I just eat, drink, make merry, I kill animals, I cut the trees down. That's what I can do because all the greatness is outside of me. I don't have any responsibility to bear. My only responsibility is to let the great spirit enter me. So then, life becomes cool. Why did you flunk the exam? Because the spirit had possessed me. Why did she top the exam? Because some other helpful spirit had entered her. How did Federer win 20 Grand Slams? A great spirit used to enter him. I'm not making fun of spirits here. I'm not trying to attack somebody's ego. I'm requesting you to please question what you are thinking, what you are doing, the direction you are taking. The movie is some kind of a wasted opportunity. Think of the direction it could have taken. Think of the message it could have conveyed. And it's an important message that the film stands very properly to convey. The conflict between, I'm repeating this, the forces of greed and the forces of the jungle. And remember, the movie opens by when the king says that I want peace. And for the sake of peace, I am prepared to donate so much land. The message contained there is that peace is more important than land. So that's wonderful. And the movie could have stood for that central message. But unfortunately, the movie has come to stand for something totally different. I wish we were not living in a society where I had no option but to strongly criticize what is otherwise quite a good piece of art. If I could overlook and ignore the impact Kantara is having on the masses, I would have surely appreciated it because purely as a piece of art, it is quite appreciable. It's not even that it's having that impact. It is being used to create that impact on the masses by all the babas and the gurus and even the politicians. And then the profit-seeking filmmakers, the other filmmakers, will cash in on the opportunity and create absolutely vile stuff following Kantara.
A follow-up question to the same. We debate a lot on the, if technology is a boon or a curse. But we seldom discuss what exactly is the place of art in our life or in society as such. So I wanted your insights on this, that what role does art serves in a society?
See, it all depends on you. If you look at the 1930s and 40s of the various instruments that Hitler and the Nazi party used, art was a prominent one. Especially when you want to condition the people, then art is a very useful tool of propaganda. And that's why you find that since the last 10 years or so, ideologies are trying in a big way to penetrate cinema, so that movies with a specific message can be created. Specific political message especially. It's movies being created on demand. Movies being created with a specific purpose. Not as art forms only, but as art with a goal. So as long as the artist is trying to express life and truth as he honestly sees it, art is wonderful. I'll quote Dhumil here. एक सही कविता पहले एक सार्थक वक्तव्य होती है. The right poem is first of all a meaningful statement. You cannot have trash served in an ornamented and aesthetically pleasing way and call it art. You cannot just have ornate words and call them poetry. There has to be a meaning, there has to be a purpose, sarthakta. The purpose has to be truth, because that has to be the purpose behind every single human activity, whatever you do. Since truth and liberation have to be the purpose behind anything and everything that we do, therefore they have to be the purpose of art as well. So the question when it comes to assessing art must be, is this piece of art leading me towards liberation or towards falseness? Is this painting or poem or movie or dance or drama or whatever helping clear the mental clutter? Is it deepening my understanding? Or is it designed to condition me and make me fall into the trap of some political motivation? What is that artwork for? If art is true, it will liberate. But if art is being used, it will enslave. And mostly, the kind of art we are talking of is sellable. If the artist is available to be sold, his art will be very dangerous. Because art captivates the mind. You can have a musician, you can have a rapper, and if you can buy this musician, he can create wonderful music that can serve your agenda, commercial agenda or political agenda. Don't they hire musicians to create advertisements? Now, music is not art here anymore. Music is an instrument to maximize your commercial profit. You think you are listening to a jingle, but by listening to that jingle, you are being motivated to pay up, to buy something. And there have been several jingles in ad forms. They have become very popular, no? And you just keep humming them. And when you are humming them, it's the success of the artist. But more than the success of the artist, it is the success of the businessman. Because when you are the businessman who hired the artist, because when you are humming that jingle, you are subconsciously preparing to buy the product that the jingle stands for. Are you getting it? So that's what art is being used for these days. There are hardly any independent artists. And be very, very cautious of artists up for sale. Rather, artists who have been already sold. Because they know how to capture your mind. They will capture your mind, and then in your mind they will place all the nonsense that their masters are dictating them to. The artist has the knack of entering your mind. He will enter. You will find the art form pleasing. And after he enters your mind, he will place in your mind some stuff that he has been paid for. The artist has sold himself, and his master has told him to place thing X in the mind of the audience. So he, the artist, will open your mind and place X in your... For example, you might like the music, but the lyrics are coming from the master, the buyer. You will think that you are appreciating the music. But the music is just a Trojan horse. In the garb of the music, it is very likely that an ideology will be planted in your mind. That's where art is very, very dangerous. Equally, art can be very redeeming. For example, when the partition of Bengal had to be opposed, 1905, I suppose, the nationalists created a lot of songs. Songs can be used either way. Art can be used either way. In this time and age, art is a thing to be sold. So be very cautious of artists. They are not presenting art to you. They are selling something to you in garb of the art. Sometimes you will find that art is for free. And you will readily consume it. You will not realize that when you are consuming that art piece, thinking that it's free, you are actually being conditioned to spend on something or to subscribe to something. Most probably to an ideology. The role of culture in ideology cannot be overemphasized. Think of Guerra. They are not merely ideological revolutionaries, they are also cultural icons.